Before we start with the little tier list and telling you what everything is, even though one of them is kind of cut out, I'll kind of go into how I read it and like how I go about reading everything. So to start off, I personally am not going to be talking about every book I read this year. Some of them I didn't think it was necessary to add them if I only read like a page, even though one of them I only read like a page. Secondly, I read 24 books this year. If you're gonna keep counts, there's not 24 on the screen. Talking about, I think, 3 books that are by publishers that I'm not going to be talking about because I don't agree with the ethics or morals that they align with. Starting off with the Internet Archive, I don't care really. You can say you disagree that it's against the publishers or not the publishers. I don't care about the publishers. I care about small publishing and the authors getting their cut. What I don't care about are these big publishers playing Crimea River that they're not making money. Your views on the Internet Archive can be different. Do I think that they're 100% right in what they did? No! But I don't care about these publishers. Especially these ones that say they care about the artist and then go and sell their rights to AI. So yeah, I'm not listing any book that's under the one in that lawsuit. And also I'm not going to be reading books going forward as well with the one that are racist and uphold the racist employees, and you know which ones I'm talking about, or the ones that sell their rights to AI, their books, for the artists that they supposedly care about. So that's kind of how I go about reading. Or also, I don't align or care to read any racist, homophobic, Islamophobic, transphobic, yada 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 author. Same goes with the movies. So if any of my movie tier ranking, if you know anything, let me know. And also, if you know anything about the authors in this list, because I checked them before I read them, but it's been a minute and a lot of things have happened since then. And just because an author wasn't any of this, they might be for, I don't know, maybe a genocide. So let's just go and start this. So the top is obviously Peak. Next for It's a Good Book, it was great, would be Avocado Toast, because like avocado toast is good. But I don't know if I'm gonna be eating avocado toast every day, right? Oh, it's something that's good, but I probably wouldn't reread. Next is a movie, so it's something that was turned into a movie. I would probably watch it, but don't really care about it. And after that, it's a book. This one will probably more be for like nonfiction. It's a book. There's nothing more, nothing less. It's just a book. I don't know what to tell you. Graveyard is for books that I am not gonna be picking up again, not finishing, yada yada yada. And the last one is trash. First up, we have Icebreakers. Icebreaker. And it's not the one you were thinking about, obviously. Every time I would look it up, I would have to add like K to it to try to find it. And this one, it was an audiobook and it was honestly hard to get through. I found the dialogue really cringy. It was so cringy. And like the story was kind of cringy, if I'll be honest with you. And the names, Nova, like the names were all so cringy. Like it felt like a Wattpad story, if I'm being honest with you. Or I don't know if this was self-published before it was turned into well, actually, I don't know if it's still self-published, but that's how I felt like because of these names. Like I think one of them was named Mickey, Nova, and like Dorian, and like some other shit. Barbie. These names were not real. You cannot tell me these names were real. After that, oh, I'm putting it in, it was kind of like, I wouldn't want to reread it or watch a movie about it probably. So I'm putting it in a book. Next we have Ariadne. I didn't finish it. Putting it in Graveyard. I don't think I'm gonna pick it up. I already know the myth, and I don't know if I would enjoy reading a book about it, so I'm just putting it in Ariadne. I kind of just picked it up because I read the Song of Achilles and like heard about like all these other ones, but yeah, I'm never gonna read it, so Graveyard it is. Next I read Mythos, and this one it was an audiobook too, and it was kind of just a book about the myths. After that, we have Deep Light. So Deep Light again, I listened to it on audiobook, and if you don't think audiobooks is reading, get the hell out of here. The door is right there, you can go anytime. I just kind of found it boring. That's kind of what like a book is kind of. If it's not nonfiction, it's kind of just boring. Maybe I had higher expectations because I was looking forward to reading it before I even picked it up. I already had hype. I heard hype, and I also went in. I thought there was gonna be Geisha in it. There wasn't, so I was just kind of waiting for it, and it never came. So that's probably why I have such a low ranking of it. After that one, I have Young Mungo. Honestly, this is the best book I read this year. If I need to recommend you any book in this, it would be that one. It's about, mainly one, well, I guess two. gay teenagers in, I think it's Glasgow. I know it's, I think in Ireland, but it's just showing how like the homophobia and all that he has to go through living, I think it's the 80s, but I would say before you read it, look at the trigger warnings because I went into it blind. I already knew that it was going to be sad because of like the time period it took place and where it took place. And obviously it said them going through like the repercussions of being together, but like, I just expect anything what happened in that book. So if you need trigger warnings, I would say look them up. Some I could tell you off the top of my head are rape, sexual assault, abuse, domestic abuse, grooming, murder, homophobia, obviously, self-harm. Oh my god, bro, even that, like, oh my god, even like, that was like what, oh my god. Yeah. The self-harm really did something to me. Like, the type of self-harm that he would do. It was one of my favorite books. After that, we have Angela Davis. Freedom is a constant struggle, and where else would it go but Pete? Honestly, it was very informative, especially on what's going on right now. And if you haven't, I would say read it. It's a very short book. Oh, Young Mungo, I read it and I listened to it on audio, but most of it was on audio though. This one, I believe I did just do full audio for Freedom is a constant struggle. I would say listen to it or like read it. It's super short. I think it's only like 100 something pages. It's super knowledgeable. It's one of her shorter books, I believe, and it's very connected to the US. So even if you're not from the US, I would say read it. It's just a very good book to learn about police and stuff like that. After that, we have Aristotle and Dante's, I think, Secrets of the Universe. This book was bad, boring. Honestly, Icebreaker could have been in trash, but like this one was way worse. I don't know if it was because of the narrator, because before this, I was like on a streak of books that if I listened to them, I just thought they were so bad because I thought maybe it was like an audiobook thing because this one, it was Lin-Manuel reading it. So that took me out right away. And then I had to deal with like the cringy writing and all that. And then I also didn't connect to the characters either one of them. So even in Icebreaker, at least not the main character, or was it the main character or another one? Like they were tolerable. This one, they were kind of just both annoying. I was going to watch the movie to see if like can compare it to the book, but I was like, if I didn't like the book, I'm not gonna watch the movie. So yeah, this is going in trash. I also then heard an audiobook of The Taoism of Two or something like that. It's a nonfiction book. Honestly, it went over my head. I'm going to actually reread it. I listened to it on audio going to work and I don't remember anything about it. Because I kind of was like, expecting it to connect back to Taoism, but it never did. Well, it did, but I kind of thought that it would connect to it more blatantly. I don't know. It just went over my head, honestly. I'm not gonna front. Sunbear's Graveyard. I didn't find it interesting and also I was kind of cringy. Cemetery Boys. Graveyard also, I didn't finish it. I think it maybe a chapter and then like I stopped listening to it. That's when I was on this like streak of like maybe audiobooks aren't for me unless it's not fiction because I couldn't get into any book until I started listening to Young Mungo on audiobook. Weapons of Math Destruction I read. It was just informative about data and like algorithms and stuff like that. If you're into that, it was an okay book. I don't think the author is, I don't think in any way, type or form, like I would say like racist or anything like that, but like some of her views I don't agree with. I think she brought up super surveillance and how in the end it would be better because then less people would go to jail for crimes they didn't commit. But we kind of know that's not true because people building these algorithms and facial recognition are biased. Like it's already been proven. There's a documentary, I don't know if it's still on Netflix, about how these systems stop people of color, especially black and like South Asian, like Indian and stuff like that, or Middle Eastern, because of they are that color. Like it's racist towards them. So how it would actually make it like not prison system, but like people getting arrested less racist. If the people making these algorithms and devices are racist, they're gonna implement their biases. Like we already know this. So there was that. And there's other thing too about like one of the dudes, I think he was the one that, not that made the BMI. I think it was it was something about black people either being trusted with money. It was like, I think loans or healthcare. Oh, I think it was insurance that they're more likely to get sick or something. That she said like that he probably didn't make or think doing like what he did would cause harm. I'm like, bro, that man was literally racist. Like, let's just call it what it is. That man was racist. But other than that, the book was very informative on like how these algorithms are kind of everywhere, from like insurance, like I said, prison system, colleges, getting loans, basically everything, credit loans, credit card. After that, I have Acid Town. It's, I think it's a manga. It is a manga. I think so. Yeah. Because I read it on my phone. I didn't know anything of it it before going into it. I just liked the way the pictures looked on the cover. I read, I think, 1 and 2 volume. I didn't know it was, like a story. I think it is. I haven't gotten that far into it. I stopped. I'm definitely gonna continue it. Let me know if you know anything about it, or if you know any type of good mangas that you recommend, or books. I didn't say it in my movie one, but like, if you know any good movies, also recommend good movies, or books too. Hopefully that align with, like, what I said in the beginning of the video. And also, I don't really need, like, a summary. Just tell me what it is, why you liked it, or like, just say blank, because I kind of want to go into stuff without knowing what they are now. Because like, I have a full list of books I want to read, but like, honestly, when I'm gonna read them, I don't know. But I haven't, like, you know when you're like reading or watching something and you didn't know this subplot or this plot was in the story until you actually read it? That's kind of what I want to experience again. I read also Never Let Me Go. It was okay. Like I said, I would watch it if it was made to a movie. But other than that, I don't know. I couldn't really connect to it. I wanted to like it more, but I didn't. I think I skipped over Sanjin. I dropped it like after like 5 pages in. That's why it's going in graveyard. Boys Run the Riot. It's going in movie. I only read volume 1. It was enjoyable. I don't know if I'm going to read more chapters, but if it turns into an anime or a movie, I'll probably watch it. Next, I have Unwind. I read this one. It's something I've read before, and I wanted to read it again because I found it interesting. It's one of the books that I wanted to read again once I got back into reading. But honestly, I don't know why. Like, I don't know how it went over my head, like, younger. I was like, oh, it's cool to think that pro-lifers, this is something honestly I would believe pro-lifers would do, because they do it like, it's hypocritical. Like, they do it right now, that they believe that children should live no matter what, or whatever, babies are babies no matter what. You know what they say. But then go and not care about children in the foster system, not care about the children getting shot up at school, not care about immigrant children at the borders, not care about children getting mobbed, not care about children who are homeless, or any type of children unless it comes to that, a clump of cells. But to say that pro-choicers would agree with this thing, this law, that at 13 anyone could be unwound is so bizarre. Like, that's the route you decided to take with this topic. And that was probably my hottest take from that book. I can't think of anything else right now. Other than that, looking back, yeah, I don't know what I was thinking wanting to read that book. I was obviously like a teen when I started reading it, but still, I don't know how that went over my head. And I couldn't stop thinking about it ever since like reading that passage. And like, I think it's before the book even starts. After that, we have Emotional Intelligence by Daniel Goldman, I believe. Or Goldman? It's a nonfiction book. There's nothing really else to it. It's going in a book. And then I read, I believe, I think it was volume 1 and like 3. It was okay. I don't think I'm its target audience again. It's more like the comedy side. I don't really like that type of stuff. I'll probably end up watching the anime now that it's out, but I don't think I'll continue reading it. The Three Body Problem. Like I said, I watched the show, so it's going in the movie. I definitely found the book more interesting than the movie. I think I'm going to read the second book, or at least listen to the audiobook, because this one I actually read. I don't think I want to read part 2. I'll probably listen to the audiobook of 2 and 3 if I enjoy reading book 2, or at least find it interesting enough, because I think the show adds stuff from book 2, like the characters, and I didn't really like the characters. So I don't know how it's gonna go down. So that one's still there. Next, we have Dopamine Nation. This is just a nonfiction book and a book. Same with the Weapons of Math Destruction. There's some stuff that I agree with and don't agree with. That's basically every book you should be reading, but some of her takes were a little bit out there. Next, we have, what was it called? Like the flowers, the never ending flower, something like that. Honestly, I can't read it from right now, from here on the screen, and I don't want to go look in my little spreadsheet. I only read like not even a chapter. That's why it's going in graveyard. It's not something that's for me. I don't know if it was like muddy or that type of stuff. I'm not really into that. If you're into that, you can read it. It got to that point at the point I was at, but I just wasn't interested in the story of like them, I guess. I don't really like stories. Okay, I like stories that are romantic, even like when they're just romantic. Like, I like plot. After that, we have my last book, Children of Blood and Bone. I wanted to like this one because I believe she is an author from an African country. I don't remember which one. I'm pretty sure she is, because I think it's a woman too. In this, though, yeah, I think she is, because I think I remember looking her up after like I was like halfway through the book. But I wanted to like it because like we don't really get that much books from countries in Africa, and not alone that, fantasy, and not just that, but fantasy in involving like mythical creatures or like mythology from Africa. So that's why I wanted to like it. But I had listened to it on audiobook, and the narrator, I don't know if the narrator was annoying or like the characters, but like every time she would yell, I think it was Anan. I'm like, bro, I would go crazy listening to this. It was boring. I didn't believe the enemies to lovers story. It happened like that, like literally like that. It made zero sense to me how hard he wrote for her, and also how easy like the relationship literally happened in like a chapter. It was hard to believe, so I didn't like it. I'm not going to continue it. And this is a good example of what problematic author is. A problematic author, if I'm not getting it confused with another one, I think it was her because I looked her up, that she said that somebody copied her book or something like that. I think it was that somebody copied her story, but then like the other person's book was already out, then she had to like go back, or it was the title or some shit. That's problematic, not somebody being racist. I think it was her. Watch me be wrong. But yeah, that was all the books I read this year. Let me know any recommendations you have, and I'll add them to my little list that I'm never going to read, but I keep adding books to. And remember, all I do is